You're somewhere you've never been before, a new city, a friend's house you're visiting for the first time, a conversation you've never had, and then it hits you. This has happened before. Not a vague sense, a certainty. Every word about to be said, every detail in the room, feels like something you've already lived through. And then, just as fast as it arrived, it's gone. And you're left standing there wondering what just happened to your brain. That feeling has a name. Déjà vu, French for already seen. And here's the part nobody tells you. Scientists don't fully understand it. Not even close. Despite being one of the most universally reported human experiences, roughly 60 to 70% of people report experiencing it. Déjà vu remains one of the most genuinely mysterious phenomena in neuroscience. There are theories, several of them. Some are compelling, some fall apart under scrutiny, and one of them, if true, says something deeply unsettling about the nature of human memory itself. Let's start with what we actually know. Déjà vu is not a memory. That distinction matters more than it sounds. When you experience déjà vu, you're not actually remembering something. There's no retrievable event attached to the feeling. No moment you can point to and say, that's where I've been before. The familiarity is the experience. The memory itself doesn't exist, which means déjà vu isn't your brain finding a real memory. It's your brain generating the feeling of memory without one. That's a very different thing, and that's exactly what makes it so strange. Most of what we understand about déjà vu comes, interestingly, from studying the people who experience it most intensely. People with temporal lobe epilepsy. In some patients, a seizure beginning in the temporal lobe, the region of the brain most associated with memory processing, can trigger prolonged, intense déjà vu as part of the seizure itself. These patients don't experience a brief flicker. They experience sustained, overwhelming familiarity that can last minutes. And crucially, they know it isn't real. They can say, with full awareness, that everything feels familiar, but they know logically that it shouldn't. That split between feeling and knowing is enormously important. It tells scientists that whatever is generating déjà vu is operating in a separate system from the rational, analytical part of the brain that evaluates it. Now here's the leading theory, and it involves something called dual processing. Your brain doesn't process a single experience in a single place. Right now, as you're watching this, multiple brain regions are simultaneously handling different aspects of what you're perceiving. One region processes visual information. Another processes spatial context. Another cross-references what you're seeing against stored memories to assess familiarity. Under normal circumstances, these processes run in sync. The inputs arrive, the regions communicate, the outputs align. You see something new, your brain checks it against memory, finds no match, and correctly registers it as unfamiliar. But sometimes, and scientists believe this is what happens during déjà vu, these processes fall slightly out of sync. The familiarity signal fires a fraction of a second before the memory check system catches up. Your brain briefly registers something as familiar before it has actually finished determining whether it should be familiar or not. And in that tiny window, déjà vu happens. The familiarity arrives first. The correction comes second. But the feeling has already landed. It's a processing glitch, a timing error, a split-second miscommunication between systems that usually work perfectly together. And your brain, which hates uncertainty, interprets that misfired familiarity signal as evidence of a real memory, one that it simply cannot locate. That's one theory. It's compelling. It fits the data reasonably well. But it doesn't explain everything, because here's the problem. If déjà vu were simply a timing glitch, you'd expect it to be random, unpredictable, triggered by anything at any time. But that's not what people report. Déjà vu tends to cluster. It happens more often when people are tired, stressed, or overwhelmed. It happens more frequently in young adults than in children or elderly people. It happens more often to people who travel frequently and encounter genuinely novel environments regularly. And it happens more often to people who report vivid dreaming. None of that fits neatly into a simple processing glitch model. Something more specific seems to be going on, which leads to the second major theory: memory interference. Your brain stores memories in layers. Not everything gets filed clearly and completely. Some memories are encoded weakly. Partial experiences, fragments, the visual layout of a room without the context of which room, the emotional tone of a conversation without the content, the sound of a street without the location. These fragments exist in memory as incomplete records. And the theory goes that when you encounter a new experience that shares enough overlapping features with one of those fragments, same spatial layout, same emotional tone, similar visual composition, your brain partially matches the new experience to the stored fragment. Not a full match, just enough of a match to trigger a familiarity signal. And because the fragment is incomplete, your brain can't retrieve a full memory to attach to the feeling. So the familiarity floats there, unanchored. That's the déjà vu. This theory actually explains several things the timing glitch model struggles with. It explains why déjà vu feels so specific, not general vague familiarity, but the particular sense that this exact situation has happened before. It explains why it's more common in young adults, who have accumulated enough memory fragments for partial matches to occur but whose memory systems are still flexible enough to misfire. And it explains why travelers experience it more. They're constantly encountering new environments that might share compositional features with fragmented memories of previous places. But here's where it gets genuinely strange. If the memory interference theory is correct, then déjà vu is essentially your brain confusing something new for something half-remembered. Which means that every time you experience déjà vu, somewhere in your memory is a fragment, an incomplete record of something that resembles this moment enough to fool your familiarity system. You have a ghost memory. A record of something you experienced but never fully stored, and that ghost is close enough to the present moment that your brain briefly mistakes one for the other. That's unsettling for a reason that takes a moment to land. If your brain is full of incomplete memory fragments, you have experienced far more than you consciously remember. There are moments in your past that registered, that were encoded, that changed your brain, and yet you have no conscious access to them. They exist only as shadows, as partial patterns, as the raw material for future déjà vu. Your memory is not a complete record of your life. It's a collection of fragments, some whole, some broken, and the broken ones sit in the dark quietly shaping your experience of the present in ways you can't see. Now let's talk about the third theory, because this one is the most controversial, and also the most interesting. Some researchers have proposed that déjà vu is connected to dreams, specifically, to the way the brain processes and stores experiences during sleep. The idea is that during REM sleep, the brain rehearses scenarios. It runs simulations. It constructs environments and situations out of fragmented memories and imagined possibilities. Most of these dream-constructed scenarios are forgotten immediately upon waking. But some, this theory argues, leave partial traces, weak impressions, not enough to be recalled as a dream, but enough to exist as a fragment in memory. And when a waking experience then resembles one of those forgotten dream scenarios, déjà vu occurs. The familiarity you feel isn't the memory of a real event. It's the ghost of a dream you've already forgotten. This would explain why people who report vivid dreaming experience déjà vu more frequently. It would explain the particular quality of déjà vu, that eerie, slightly unreal sense of familiarity that feels different from ordinary memory. And it would connect déjà vu directly to the brain's sleep processing systems in a way that fits with what we know about how memory consolidation works during rest. But it's hard to prove. Dreams are notoriously difficult to study. The traces they leave, if they leave any, are by definition below the threshold of conscious recall. You can't ask someone to retrieve a memory they have no access to. What all three theories agree on, though, is something worth sitting with. Déjà vu is not evidence of a past life. It's not a glitch in a simulation. It's not your brain predicting the future. It is your memory system doing something extraordinarily sophisticated and getting it slightly wrong. And the fact that it gets it wrong in this very specific, very recognizable way tells us something important. Your brain is constantly, invisibly, running a background process, checking everything you experience against everything you've stored, looking for matches, assessing familiarity, filing new experiences against old fragments. You are never experiencing the present moment in isolation. Every moment is being simultaneously compared against your entire past. That process is usually invisible. Déjà vu is what happens when it briefly surfaces. And here's the final thought that tends to stay with people. You will experience déjà vu again, probably more than once. And when you do, somewhere in your memory is a fragment, broken, incomplete, possibly from a dream you've long forgotten, that resembles that moment closely enough to fool your brain. You won't be able to find it. You won't be able to retrieve it. It exists below the surface of conscious memory, in the part of your brain that works in the dark, quietly comparing your present to your past without ever asking permission. So the next time it happens, that sudden, certain, inexplicable sense that you've been here before, you haven't. But part of you has. A fragment of you. A ghost of an experience you can no longer reach. And for one brief, strange second, the present and the past got close enough to touch.